Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show. I am your host, Dr. Will, and today we're going to be talking about personal branding. And our special guest, Melissa Powell, is joining us all the way from the beautiful Jamaica. How are you doing, Melissa?
Jamaica.
Awesome, awesome.
Hey.
Now, for those who are watching the show, will you please introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Melissa Powell, and I am currently an advocate for human capital management and also immigration. It's kind of like the interest of both, and helping people to find proper opportunities in other countries and helping the companies and themselves through the entire process.
Awesome.
So that's basically what I do. That's not what I always did. I did architecture and construction before, and I had to move over into another sector because I realized where my passions lied. My real passions, not that I wasn't passionate about architecture and construction, but in order to really help people on another level, this is where I landed. And then I had to go through my own personal experience with personal branding. So I know it's tough, guys.
Awesome, awesome. So let's begin by defining personal branding, and why should people start thinking of themselves as a brand?
Okay, so I would say for personal branding, it's basically maximizing the potential of your true purpose. So once you realize that you're here for a purpose and you know what your purpose is, personal branding gives you the opportunity to show other people that that's what you're about and that's what you're here to help the world go through. It's being able to educate through being an invisible expert. So it's actually a part of education, and it's basically your identifying mark. It's something that allows you to hone in on what the true representation of yourself is, versus some things that you may be doing that's not necessarily what you want to perceive. When you are cognizant of your personal brand, you're able to quickly see the things that, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because that's not really what I want people to get from me. And it also helps people to see that you're an expert in whatever it is that you want to help people in. It's just having a personal brand is just as important as any other kind of brand. It's about your identifying mark. It's like you wouldn't see Coca-Cola promoting jeans unless there's someone holding up a Coca-Cola wearing jeans, right? So just like that, you would be able to see where you fit into certain things, who are your people through your personal brand.
Cool. So every brand has a story. How do people go about the process of discovering their story, and how does one understanding their own story play into one's personal brand?
Okay, so it definitely goes hand in hand. You can't have a personal brand unless you know what your story is. And how you know your story is by self-reflection and then goal defining. So you need both. You need to be able to reflect and see what it is that you have been really good at, what it is that people have gotten out of you, what you're passionate about, what you've been passionate about, what you may not have liked, but have really been good about it, or it's generally what you're really good at, what you're passionate about. But then you have to bring into the mix, what are your goals? Because sometimes you get passionate about things, like I'm passionate about architecture, but that didn't fit into my goal, right? It fit into my goal in the long term when I'm able to sit off by the sea and do some wonderful designs, right? But in terms of my immediate goal, it didn't fit in. So I couldn't then go, if I'm trying to help people with immigration and getting jobs professionally, even if it is that they're getting their job professionally in architecture, my main showcase isn't architecture. It isn't my designs. it's the process of moving from one context, right? But I'm only able to tell that because I know I've defined my goals. And I've self-reflected. I've seen, what have I been through? What have I been through that can help other people? So you need to create a clear vision, and just kind of by creating that vision, you are able to tell that story. If you don't have a clear vision, you won't be able to tell a clear story. And if you don't have a clear story, then people will still not know what you're really trying to be the expert at. So what do you want to accomplish is that's what leads to the clear brand story.
Mm-hmm. So the educators who will be watching this podcast, right? They have their own blogs, they've written books, they present at conferences, and some even host their own podcasts. Why should they secure a personal website? And what I mean by that is, mine is iamdrwill.com as opposed to .wordpress or blogspot.com or Tumblr. How should they decide which content will add to their brand and which content will be a distraction?
Well, it really has to do with, again, one, honing in on your vision, and two, most importantly, your audience, right? So by creating a website for yourself, you're able to put all of what you've done in one place. So think of it as a big reference board. So anybody who wants to know anything about what you've done or what you've offered is here on this website. And then once you have a website, the great thing about websites now is that you can actually analyze data. And I know people must be like, what? I'm an educator. I'm not good at math. What are you talking about? Data. Well, with websites now, when you're creating your personal brand and you put all your content up, you're able to visualize and see how people react to what you're doing. And so when you're able to see that, because now you don't have to know about coding to be able to do this. The websites offer that just off the bat, right? So once you take notes of that and you see what people are interested in, it helps you to then be able to say, oh, maybe it's not the podcast that I should be focused on so much. Maybe it's writing the blogs or vice versa. And it just kind of puts you out there. It gives you global opportunity and educator. And your purpose is educating people. The majority of the people that you're going to be educating are the new generation, and they want to see what you're about without having to ask a million people, without having to call up a reference. So when you have all of your information and all that you've done in one place, it's easy for them to be able to say, oh, I like this person's style. I like what they're about. They really have helped me just in this article. Maybe I should continue to listen to what they have to say. And this is where I can find all the time, right? And even if you're going and networking physically, it's easy to say, oh, check out my website. And then you become more memorable because then people will say, oh, let me go check it out, So the two main reasons is, one, to give yourself more visibility, and two, to be able to really help people by paying attention to your youth. They will be able to nudge you in the direction of, where you should go next.
Mm-hmm. So let's stay with the digital space. What are some of the pitfalls should one avoid when building an online presence?
There are a few things that you want to avoid. Definitely avoid trying to be a car salesperson. No offense to car salespeople, but that's their job, and their job is to show up the awesome features of the cars, and they have to do it in such a way where you'll buy into it immediately. Your personal brand is more of growth and continuously offering information and becoming an expert in something. Not that car salespeople are not experts, right? But you kind of want to move away from sales pitching to giving information, right? You also want to avoid waiting for the perfect start, because there will never be the perfect start. Just give information. Your users will then tell you, okay, this is not really the information I'd like to get. And then you can morph into it based on that. Definitely avoid reacting negatively to other people's opinions. Not everybody's going to agree with what you're saying. But you should always listen to what they have to say, because sometimes we get so caught up in what we know that we don't realize that there might be another way out there and another way that could possibly help you. So when you listen to the users and to other people's opinions and react in a positive light, it can help you to grow as a brand, as an expert. And then I would say number one thing is do not confuse personal branding with egotistical self-promotion. Avoid that at all costs. So self-branding is about offering information and being an expert. It's not about all the things, all the accolades that you've had before. So I think those are my key takeaways for avoiding.
Cool. So now let's talk about standing out visually. How does one color choices or style of clothing have a positive or negative impact on their personal brand?
Well, again, sound like a stuck record, but you have to hone in on your vision and your audience. So know what your vision is and know who your target audience is. That's how you will know whether or not you will positively impact based on your choice of colors or the way that you dress. It's very important to pay attention to these things. I wouldn't be a yoga instructor and go into a yoga class in my business suit. Then people would be like, okay, she's not necessarily a yoga expert, right? And I wouldn't necessarily go into a corporate boardroom for the first time in my gym shorts and a t-shirt. Not because what you have on is any less of what you can give people, the information you can offer people, but it's about perception, and it's about the feeling that you want else, right? So it's not about it's less about being offensive and more about the feeling that you evoke, right? Because you can evoke a negative feeling to your personal brand that's not offensive, right? So like a yoga instructor, again, let's go with yoga because it's calming, right? So you wouldn't see a yoga instructor's logo with big blocks of red, because red is more of something that's exciting and with a lot of energy, where yoga is more trying to calm you down. So you try to use calm colors. And when you're going through this process, you may not know about color psychology. Don't worry about it. Just type in Google color psychology, and a lot of references will come up, and you'll be able to read about the different color combinations for your brand, what they mean, what people have gotten. Just don't try and reinvent the wheel. Just go and look at what other research has done. And again, just know your audience, know what they like to see. Don't think that because I am an expert in whatever, I can just go into any boardroom the way I feel like it, because I have money, and two, I know what I know, right? No, first impressions are really important. So, dress for the occasion. It makes you look better, it makes you feel better, and it makes everybody else more comfortable with receiving what you have to give them. So I can even go into my own personal story where, again, listening to the audience is very important. With my brand, POCME, I wasn't so convinced with the logo at first, right? But I am trying to promote unity, diversity, and peace through serious topics like human capital management and immigration. So even though I'm trying to be peaceful and unified, I have to be serious, right? So whereas I might have thought that the logo that I was going with was not serious enough, I just pitched it out there to people who could possibly be my potential customers, and they loved it, and so I went with it, and it has been a very good experience with that type of branding. So again, don't be afraid to ask your audience things and listen to what they have to say.
Awesome, awesome. So before we go, I always like to end my shows with like your last piece of advice. So for those who are watching and they're not quite sold on personal branding, because they're thinking, I'm a teacher, I'm a professor, I change minds, I don't sell soap, so they don't. The whole idea of branding for them just doesn't make any sense. What is your advice to why they should take action into defining their brand?
Well, it's exactly what you just said a while ago about educating and not selling. So remember my point about the fact that you are an educator and you're showing yourself as an expert in helping people rather than selling your accolades. That's really what it's about. If you don't put yourself out there as an expert and show people what you have to offer, then you limit your possibility to help the people that you want to help. Because the people that you want to help are not just located in your community or in your home. They are everywhere, right? And you want to maximize that potential of really helping and educating people. That's one of the best things about educators, is that they're passionate about helping people. And this tool, being able to recognize that your personal brand is about educating people, I think that's the game changer in terms of realizing the necessity of having a personal brand in this day and age. It's just like, don't ask. If you don't ask, there's no possibility. Well, if you don't put yourself out there, you limit that possibility to make the difference that you can make. You could be so much more, and again, as an educator, when you put yourself out there as an expert, with a personal brand, you then limit the need to rely on institutions or districts to validate your professionalism or yourself, right? Because the people out there will do it for you, and I mean, don't get flustered. It's very hard to do your own personal brand. Sometimes you can seek help. You can seek help from your friends. You can check me out on Twitter or Instagram at melissapowell.co or Melissa Powell Co. And that I will answer any questions you have. If you want to get professional, the guy who helped me is Brian J. Noel. He is at brianjnoel.com, and I really would suggest you reach out to him if you'd like to, because it's really important now for you to get to that level where you're no longer reliant on the institutions or the districts to validate you, and also to increase your possibility to help more people, to have that personal brand out there.
Awesome, awesome. So thanks again, Melissa, for being on the show. People, you know how we do. This is going to be on my blog. This is going to be on YouTube and on SoundCloud. So as always, be you, edu, peace.